My bad. I messed up. So yeah,
Okay.
you were saying about how big
Ugh.
the Canadian trucker convoy is in the States.
Well, okay, Boomer. Let me tell you something. No, let me tell you something. Yeah, so the trucker convoy in the United States, everybody knows is going on in Canada. It's going all over Europe. Um, Mostly, it's big in Canada. Like it's became a big kind of a big thing. And the United States is also kind of starting to do stuff like that, or at least they're talking about doing stuff like that more out of a sense of solidarity. Although, like, I think if we really wanted to disrupt things, if you really want to send a message, stop driving, stop delivering stuff.
Yeah.
People will be forced to at least pay attention in a way that maybe protest, even with 10,000 people, doesn't like do. Like it forces their attention in a way that maybe nothing else can do. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how things unfold over the next couple of weeks. But I think most people in the United States seem pretty pro trucker convoy
Yeah.
for the most part. Because Canada's a little nutty. I mean, they're a little fucking nuts up there right now. So I think even your most like mild progressive person's like, I don't know, man. That's it seems like things have really gotten out of control because in America, everybody's like now is because Biden's polling was so bad, they all realized that like, well, I guess we really can't push mandates and stuff anymore. We really can't push masking. People don't like that.
Hmm.
Um, so now on CNN, things that would have got you booted off social media 6 months ago, that's what they're talking about. Like, oh, paper cloth and paper masks don't really work, and really, what you got to do is take in consideration your own health and the risks. You do risk assessments,
Hmm.
and yeah, so it's and they did that like they turned on a dime when they started doing that. So it's frustrating to people, but and I think it also just kind of exposed some of the hypocrisies of some of the stuff that's going on.
It was interesting to see Bill Maher. I don't know if you saw this, but Bill Maher on his recent or maybe the one before that episode where
Yeah,
he was going through the lists of deaths, hospitalizations, and then also like economy and stuff. And he was saying, so you look at Florida, who they never, and they never locked down, and we were all ridiculing them a year ago. And then he's obviously pointing out that Florida is better than New York and
yeah.
Colorado and stuff.
Kind of trying to show that the drastic measures that were taken actually didn't result in anything.
Mm,
It's almost like if the numbers are what they are, like you could just look at a state like New York, specifically like the more metropolitan areas, New York City, and you'd be like, oh, and they had really hardcore ones.
yeah,
Um,
super hardcore.
Super hardcore at a certain point. Most of that is theater because like even back in the early days of COVID, people didn't like there's certain segments of society that did not give a shit, and they were going to the parks, they were going to play basketball. I remember Andrew Cuomo like being angry during all his very stately daily press
Fondly.
conferences where he was looking at charts and maps and having people build paper mache hills and shit, mountains.
Yeah, I remember that stuff, man. That was
Yeah, it
crazy.
feels like it was 10 years ago.
I was just gonna say that. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say that. And I remember the times when they were saying they were gonna have to start burying people in Central Park, and
Yeah.
they were,
Yeah,
which
and they
I
had like
remember
the big
thinking,
tents out there for
yeah,
for
yeah,
medical stuff. A goddamn ship got sent there.
which they never used.
They never
Yeah,
used for anything while
as a
elderly people were being sent back to nursing
yeah,
homes COVID positive.
yeah, it was the same here. I think we had like I don't know, it was either 3 or 5 really big conference centers that were converted into hospitals. And I think I'm right in saying this, that they only used, and that made something like 25,000 beds for
Yeah.
like emergencies only. And I think they only used like 80 in the whole time. And
Yeah.
most of them they didn't use at all. Like most of the centers, they built up and then they closed them down and they were never used.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's crazy. I just thought we would have a very brief look, kind of at what it is, and then we'll have a look at Justin Trudeau because everybody loves Justin.
Yeah, the God Emperor Justin Trudeau, God Emperor of Canada, Fidel Castro's lost son.
Yeah, he does look a lot like him, doesn't he?
His mom was down there.
Yeah,
She was milling about with these revolutionary types.
I know. Crazy. It's
Who knows what
crazy.
happened down there? Think of all the wild, craven
Communist partying.
communist sex. Yeah,
Yeah,
those people are hedonists.
absolutely.
They're
Right.
hedonists,
Have a
Mark.
look.
They all want to fuck your kids. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I just had to do a little boomer glitch there. Right, let's go. Let's have a look. Yeah, buddy. Did you
The
see that truck,
honkening.
Biden?
Yeah. Look at these Nazis.
I know.
These fucking goose stepping Nazis out there. Did you see that too? There's like a 10-30 second clip of like 4 people randomly pulling out like a Nazi flag with like a trucker
Yeah,
symbol on the corner. You're like, okay, guys, all right, let's
yeah.
chill. Let's
Chloe.
chill with your fucking your fake shit. Like it looked like it came out of the box that day.
Yeah,
Where the hell do you even get a Nazi flag in Canada of all places? Like, where do you even get one?
a museum. Yeah, I mean, I did think at the time that did you? I can't remember if you saw that. I can't remember. I mean, I don't know if you saw that. It was for some kind of local election, and
Oh, the
there were those
Virginia one.
the 4 people that turned up with tiki torches, wearing the red MAGA hats.
Yeah, that was
One of them was black.
that was
and
the Virginia governor's race. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
And every at the time, obviously, everybody was like, "See, this is what you're getting if you don't vote for the Democrats."
Yeah, oh, and then they tried to like kind of do a pivot where they were like the people from the Lincoln Project said like this was their form of protest. It was like a satire
Yeah,
protest, and
yeah.
they were able
Once
to
they were
fall on their
busted.
sword. Once they were busted, like I mean, it's so egregiously stupid that like that may be the case, but it also shows like the I guess for lack of a better way to put it, residual TDS, residual Trump
Mm,
derangement syndrome that they still have and they cannot let go of regardless of who's involved. They're always just going to try to smear that side of the aisle like that forever.
yeah,
Like this is going to go on for a long time. And of course, everybody at home just know that these are all jokes. These are all speculative. Like I cannot prove anything. I don't want to get Mark's channel nuked. Please come over to Zubox. We are in a 7-day suspension right now for misinformation. So
Are you really?
yes, I am. I got it. I was editing a new episode, a brand spanking new episode of Zubox Goes to the Library / Goes to the Movies, where you can find a Zubox, Zubox.com. And fucking I got an email and they're like, yeah, for misinformation. Because a while ago I did a live stream about Tim Pool getting swatted, and at the end of it, I looked at some January 6th, the anniversary stuff. I think
Mm.
I made some jokes about federal involvement, and
Oh
they
God.
coded that as misinformation. Oh no, you know what I did? I watched part of the Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene press conference. I
Oh,
think
okay.
that's probably what did it, because
Yeah,
I dared to watch it and talk about what they were saying.
dude. Do you remember what YouTube was like in like 2012?
I do. I'm creaming for it, Mark. I want to go back.
What happened?
I can't do this shit anymore. It's so demoralizing. It's so stressful just to have like fucking like, oh, I gotta walk on eggshells about anything. I have videos
Yeah.
on my fucking channel where I talk about people fucking animals, okay? And that's fine. That's
Disavow.
fine. That's
Disavow.
totally fine. I have videos on my channel of listening to Jack Murphy get his dick sucked while saying 69 for 69. That's fine. But mentioning that the federal government may not
Yeah.
always be on the up and up is a big no-go
Yeah.
for the bootlickers over at YouTube.
It's the world has gone bananas. Like for those that don't know as well, and I totally understand. This is kind of selfish. uh, well, the last bit is kind of selfish. I tried to monetize my channel because I thought I'm not going to make any money on, and I wasn't going to put ads on the main videos because unless you're getting like 50,000 viewers, you're making nothing and you're just pissing off your viewers.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get like if I'm getting 1,000 views on a video or 50 views on a video, I don't want to annoy those 50 people because you can't control how many ads or what the ads are. So sometimes you'll see a video with like it's 10 minutes long and there's 50 ads and people rip into the creator. But a lot of the times you can't control how many ads or who puts the ads on. Is
Yeah,
that
well, I mean,
correct?
I think once you become partner, I think you can manually like select things like that, but most people don't. And then
Mm,
the AI just does it for you, and then they tries to find like what they consider the AI tries to suss out it's like a natural break,
yeah.
and yeah,
But yeah, so I thought I would do that, and then that would give me the option if I wanted to in like streams one day of doing super chats and stuff like that. But
hmm
like I say, I talked to you about it, and I was definitely not going to do it on the normal videos. I have fulfilled all of the green ticks that you need to get monetized,
yeah,
and they still owe me money from when Google bought YouTube. I still have money in my AdSense account, and I thought maybe this at some time will just get me over the hill of them actually having to pay out because obviously they don't have to pay out unless you get in this country is 60 quid, which is
yeah.
about 80 $90.
I think it's the same thing here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought, cool, I will do it. I mean, 4 green ticks, I'll just press the button. And as I told you at the time, they were like, sorry, we're not going to monetize you because you are producing harmful content. And I was just like, what?
Yeah, and
What?
there's no recourse as a
Yeah,
content creator, whatever you want to call it. Like,
yeah.
there's no recourse. There's nobody to talk to. Like, I appealed my suspension, and within maybe 2 minutes, I got an email back. I'm like, oh, thanks for looking into it, guys.
Yeah.
Like, fuck. And
Yeah.
that's the second time that's happened to me. And most of the time, that what's the great irony is most of the stuff that I watch is on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's on, and I do that on purpose, especially for the YouTube thing, because generally you're safe if it's on there.
Mm.
But
Yeah, it's
fucking
crazy, man. Like some of the stuff on YouTube, like what was it that you had in one of your videos? There was like two gay guys, and it was they were checking out. It was like a game whether they could guess what was in their rear end. Was
yeah,
it
yeah.
me, or was it a toy, or
I
was
think it
it a
was like
cassette tape or something?
Davy Wavy. I think is that his name. I can't even
Mm.
remember. So many gay men in my life. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, but yeah, I did. I watched that. That was on YouTube. That wasn't even age restricted for most of its life.
It's
Now I
crazy.
think because it became like controversial because
Yeah.
people found out they're like, "Whoa, kids can find this."
Mm.
But yeah,
It's just insane to me that sort of stuff is on YouTube. But things that you or I do, I mean, I shouldn't. I guess I shouldn't include you with the harmful thing because you haven't had that yet.
I
But
guarantee you, I'm going to come up against the same thing. How could I not? How can I not?
but the thing is, dude, if you think about it like this, in this day and age, where you've got people that are in their 20s, their and 30s, and I guess like their 40s to early 40s, millennials, to them, that sort of stuff isn't harmful. Like to them, zoophilia or bestiality. I'm not trying to like say that they all feel this way, but you know the type I mean, like the woke type where nothing is too off limits and it's all healthy. But if you mention any politics that goes against theirs or any
Well,
morals, sorry, that go
yeah,
against theirs, that is harmful
yeah,
to them.
because they're like authoritarian like that. It's either
Yeah,
our way or the highway, and anything that would even approach offending me or offending my sensibilities or making me look at something is just it's a no go. It's a no go for them.
yeah,
I guess this is a very long way to say that like we are definitely standing in solidarity with the truckers because we know what's at
yeah.
stake. I'm honking out
Nice.
there for my YouTube channel. Honk for me, Canadians. Honk for me.
uh, I want to have a look at what Justin Trudeau has had to say.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm looking for. I've seen a couple clips. I've not like watched a ton of it because
Great.
who gives a shit? You have to listen to Justin Trudeau. Like, ugh,
It's
ugh.
crazy. I can't believe this dude runs a country.
I can look at all the people that run countries in this
That's
world. Like,
true. That
dude,
is
like, come
true.
on. Half of them, you're like, how the fuck?
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
Boris Johnson, however funny he may be.
Yeah, no,
Sometimes I'm like, he's all. I mean, granted, he seems like actually a very smart, thoughtful person when he's allowed to be. I guess when his
but
handlers
I know what
haven't
you mean.
gotten
Like,
him.
you would imagine that if you're going to be in control, I mean, obviously America is the big one, like, but the UK is number 5, and who else do we have with strange rule? Canada is probably like number 16, 17, like in
Yeah.
terms of the world's wealthiest or powerful countries or whatever. Australia with Scott Morrison seems like an all right bloke, but you just can't really trust his word.
Mm-hmm.
Germany, number 4 in the world, and they obviously had crazy Merkel
Angela
for so
Merkel. You
long.
mean the secret Nazi?
Well, I didn't know
Oh, I
about
mean,
that.
listen. These are jokes. These are jokes. These are speculative jokes. These are not real. They're not. This is
Disavow,
satire. This is a comedy show, Mark.
disavow, disavow.
Isn't this what Generation Y? I thought this was a comedy podcast.
It used to be, but then I got told off
Oh,
for harmful content. So
God
now
damn it! Isn't that always the way?
it is with me. All right, let's watch. Justin. Hit it, Justin.
This virus affects us all. 2 of my own children have now contracted it, and this morning
No.
I tested positive for COVID-19 as
Look
well.
how smugly satisfied he is. He's like, I'm showing you. I'm showing you. I told you it was a big deal. I told you it was super serious, and now my family has it. Now
Yeah,
I have it.
I can't wait to see how affected he is with
Well, that's what
this
happened.
terrible disease that he shut down his country for.
Yeah, he should have stayed in fucking Canada then. Stay out of the United States while he's hiding from the truckers that were going to, burn down.
Do some terrible things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No symptoms.
Oh,
Of course, I'll be working remotely this
no symptoms.
Yeah. Oh, no way.
Wow, a young man with COVID, and I mean, okay.
week, and we'll keep following public health guidelines. I want to take this opportunity to remind Canadians to please get vaccinated. I want to be very clear. We are not intimidated by those who hurl insults and abuse at small business workers and steal food from the homeless.
Okay, can I ask something? Do you
Yeah.
know where does that claim come from?
I don't know. That's exactly what I was thinking to myself. I was like,
It's like I guarantee you that like the people and the trucker convoys and stuff are much more pro small business than Justin
100%.
Trudeau has been.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure there are people. Everybody is an individual. And they have their own beliefs or whatever. There's probably some people that are like, fuck off. I'm
Mm,
sure there are. I'm sure there are.
mm.
But but stealing food from the homeless people, like, are they just saying because they're so disruptive that they can't like do their business or something? Is that what the implication is?
Yeah.
Or are they literally just going up and smacking food out of homeless people's mouths? They just going down,
Yeah.
they're just not letting them in the soup kitchens. They're like, nope, no soup
Yeah,
for you.
that would be a much more entertaining reality than I think the one that we actually have. But like when he starts off that sentence after he's talking about having COVID, and then he goes, "And I have a message. We will not be frightened." And blah blah blah. I thought he was going to go on to say, or we will defeat this virus, however you defeat a virus. But
Yeah.
I thought he was going to like continue it about viruses, and then he's like, "We will not be intimidated by those who would insult our small business owners, and for those that will steal food from the homeless." Like, what are you talking about? Fucking dude is crazy. Anyway,
We won't give in to those who fly racist flags. We won't cave.
He's like, I saw that video. You guys saw the video, right? I shared it on my socials. You saw that video of the Nazi flag, didn't you? Didn't you all see? You all saw it, right?
yeah, that one,
The one.
yeah, that
And
they
then
kicked out, didn't
And
they?
somebody from his office got caught, like being in the protest, like pretending to be a protester.
No shit.
Somebody shared a picture. Granted, take that with a grain of salt. You know how it is with people sharing pictures and drawing drawing conclusions from them. But the guy looks exactly like somebody in Trudeau's office, so it was kind of funny.
I would not be surprised.
To those who engage in vandalism or dishonor the memory of our veterans, there is no.
I'm sorry. What?
I think it has to do. Wasn't there a statue that like they put like a Canadian flag over and like something in his arm and like threw a scarf around it and maybe put a trucker hat on it or something? Just having a bit of fun.
But where was this when people were demolishing statues and spray painting stuff everywhere for weeks on end?
Oh,
where was this love of
but those were the bad
country?
ones. Those were the bad ones.
Yeah, you're right. It was the wrong sort.
Basically, what we need to do is we need to try to erase any type of like monuments or reminders that not everything has been perfect forever. So we don't ever want to be reminded of those things, because if we're reminded of those things, Mark, like it makes me very uncomfortable. I just don't like it. I just would rather just let's just drop them in the fucking ocean. Let's just get it done and over with. Yeah. I mean, Mount Rushmore, I want to press the button. I want to press the button when they put up the high explosives. I want to be there. I want to press the button myself. Yeah. And I'm probably gonna find a Native American person and I'm gonna hold their hand. We're gonna cry together. It's gonna be very beautiful.
That would be amazing. Or you could carve a new face of Donald Trump.
Yeah, that would go over. Actually, not a new face, Mark. We got to clean the slate and then just have Donald Trump's face.
Yeah, perfect.
Or actually, not even his face, just his name.
In
giant gold letters. Yeah.
Oh, that would suit the nature up in, where is that? North Dakota? South Dakota?
Yeah, I think so.
It's in one of those two. I think it's North Dakota. That'd be lovely there.
Yeah.
Go on, Justin. Tell us more.
No place in our country for threats, violence, or hatred. So to those responsible for this behavior, it needs to stop. To the politicians exploiting people's fears.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, he's like, to myself, note to self.
Exactly.
I like how he's like standing in front of like some sort of masculine outdoors looking situation. There's like a porch. There's some wood back there. Like, he's cutting wood. Maybe he's got a fireplace in there.
This is Canada. We have snow wherever he is.
I don't know where he is.
But it looks like it could be a nice Canadian wilderness. I'm with you guys.
Yeah. Not like the metrosexual pleasure palace that he probably lives in.
Communist, yeah.
Everything's just steel.
Yeah.
Steel color, just gray, steel, very drab, but very chic. Very chic.
What do they call it? Like Soviet chic. Soviet chic,
is that what they call it?
Yeah, like there's a real thing. Because in fairness, although the majority of it, especially if you're a poor or a middle class person, not that you really had a middle class in Soviet Russia, but they did do some crazy architecture.
Oh yeah, some gorgeous stuff. Holy shit,
nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, 1000%.
I ask you.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
No, you go for it.
Okay.
To think long and hard about the consequences of your actions. To the nearly 90% of truckers across the country who've gotten vaccinated, who continue working hard to keep us fed and keep our economy moving, thank you.
Well, like peacefully protesting?
I was just trying to find out, like, can you see what that sign says? It says something about the political divide. Something like "We are united." Or "We must unite."
We must unite.
No political divide. Oh, politicians divide. We must unite.
There it is.
Politicians divide.
I think that's a perfectly fine statement.
I completely agree. Like, that dude gets it.
Well, this is the thing. Like, are they like they're trying to like drum up this kind of this hysteria about it? Like they're being violent. They're vandalizing. They're eating homeless people's food because they're not actually doing anything. They're just doing what we, at least in the United States, and I know it's not like that exactly like that in Canada, but you have the right to, especially to protest and have a peaceful protest. That was the whole fucking argument for the past 2 years about what that constitutes. And what is more peaceful than this? Sure, maybe annoying if you're trying to get downtown.
Yeah,
But like,
absolutely.
but whatever. I mean,
But
this is so when this side of the aisle, when the more conservative side of the aisle does something like this, it's not okay. But if you're a fucking nutcase where you're trying to make excuses for violence and destruction
child
and
sex.
disrupting people's lives, well, then that's okay. That's okay to go block a highway. It's
Yeah,
okay to do those things in those circumstances because, oh my God, that's the biggest threat the country is facing. But if you do
100%.
this, where people just want to like literally be able to go to a restaurant or work,
Dude, you took the words out of my mouth. Like in this country, we've had all of the same sort of groups that you've got in America. You know, kind of ironic when there's people saying hands up, don't shoot in a country where
yeah,
policemen don't have guns. But we also had what do they call Insulate Britain, which was a greeny, company. Sorry, an organization, activist organization called Insulate Britain, who was saying, and I'm sure there's truth to this. If we insulate every house in Britain, then we will have to use less heating, which will pollute the atmosphere a little bit less. And like, I get it, but
sure.
the UK is 1% of the world's population.
Mm-hmm.
1%. We emit just under 1% of the world's emissions, and we're a little island in the North Atlantic. And I believe we have made the second most progress in the world in terms of cleaning up our emissions and our carbon footprint. So I feel like we're doing good. But you had people gluing themselves to roads in London,
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
and people couldn't get ambulances in and out because you had these freaking stupid, like 60-year-old doctors like gluing and bonding themselves to the tarmac. And then when the people are trying to get them up because they're like, we need to get this ambulance through to someone's having a heart attack. You had this one guy, I remember specifically, he's a doctor, and he's like, oh, you're hurting me. I'm like, of course it hurts. You
Yeah.
just bonded
No
your
shit.
face to the tarmac. Like, what?
What clownish horseshit! Like what? This is like their sense of entitlement, their righteous indignation. It's so impotent and so feckless. It's just there so they can pat themselves on the back and be like,
That's it.
"I also was arrested, Toby. I was also
Yeah.
arrested. Thank you, brother." Like, and then, so they can go have their like go to a party and talk about it.
I was
This
just
is like
gonna say that.
vegan activists are the same thing. I've spent a lot of time deep diving into vegan activists. If you go to our channel on Zoobox, we had a debate between a butcher and a vegan activist. You could tell me how you thought it went.
Oh, I saw that was good.
But what I'm saying is like their goals are so broad and abstract that they're actually impossible to accomplish. They don't ever focus on some sort of singular thing, like you had brought up. Like if you were like more of like into like the green, renewable energy stuff like that. Like, okay, we want to lessen our carbon footprint. Okay, we'll start there.
Mm.
You don't need to throw everything into that basket because oftentimes that's what they do. They're like,
Yeah.
this is about climate equity and climate change. You're like, what are you talking about? Do you care about climate change? Do you want people to lessen their carbon footprint? Do you want to provide practical solutions for people to do that? Or do you want to just hear yourself talk? Vegans do the same thing. Some of the shit some of those people say blew my mind. I was so mind blown. They're talking about like equitable animal sanctuaries. Not enough brown people are into veganism, so we need to do that. Like, are you trying to save the planet or save animals, or do you care about how you look, like the optics of it? It's obnoxious. I apologize. I'll shut up.
No, it's all good. I completely agree. I think it's about going to their dinner party and then being like, oh, what were you doing at the weekend? I was gluing myself to the street to, reduce emissions.
Yes. So Leonardo DiCaprio can come up to you and give you a fist bump and say, "Solidarity, brother. Hold on, I gotta
Absolutely.
go. Power up the jet."
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Who've gotten vaccinated, who continue working hard to keep us fed and keep our economy moving. Thank you. Truckers have.
But now, like, I'm sorry to keep stopping it. Now he cares about the economy. Yeah, I feel like it's a bit too late for that, Justin. Anyway, you want to say something?
No, I agree with you 100%. Like, it's just something that was like, oh well, not one more life, no matter what it costs.
Yeah. What
Even if
happened to
it
that?
kills millions of people
Yeah.
by happen or not by circumstance, by the circumstance we're creating, that's fine. But as long as they don't die of COVID.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Of tough jobs. Long hours on the road. Days away from their families. Real challenges, particularly over the past 2 years, as they've continued to step up to put food on our shelves and on our tables,
Wow.
to support us with life-saving medication and
So that's
supplies.
what this is what he's really mad about. He's like, he thinks these truckers are just being lazy. It's like, why did you stop, guys?
Yeah. You were everything I had.
What is this all about?
It's crazy, man. They're just seeing that all those trucks. That,
Yeah, it's a pretty dare I say, it's like a powerful display of like what a working class collective could actually accomplish if it had the gumption to do so.
absolutely. And something that worries me about this incident is that, in my humble opinion, I think, sadly, we're probably heading towards some sort of globo-fascist future. And I know that that's a very like hot statement, but what I mean is I think we can see what's going on, and we can see that around the world a lot of it's becoming the thing for governments to just take complete power. You
Mhm.
can see it in China, and as most people can see, China is 15 years away from being twice as powerful as the US has ever
Yep.
been. And that doesn't make me happy to say that, believe me, but I'm just
It's
I'm
just the
just sort of
reality. It's just reality.
yeah, exactly. I'm just espousing the truth. If it follows even close to the rate of growth, and it has not had that much growth for the last 5 years, but just following that rate, it will be twice as powerful in 2035 than
Well,
the
but
US was at its peak.
because events like this give them the circumstance, give them the ability to come in with constant government intervention to the point where they're going to take over
Yeah,
corporations. And if you like, people don't know at home, kind of a turn of phrase or the description of what like fascism is the merging of government and corporation,
yeah,
right? Like that's one of the things that it's usually like described as.
yeah,
And that is exactly that's happening already. I mean, it's kind of already there
yeah.
in terms, especially like just speaking for the United States. I mean, the amount of lobbying that goes on, the amount of politicians that are heavily invested and involved or have worked for like the biggest corporations on the planet. Um,
Shell, BP,
Shell,
you know,
BP, like any type of
Toys R Us.
any type of weapons manufacturers, all that kind of stuff, and they all just
Radio.
line each other's pockets constantly. It's this big crony circle jerk.
Yeah, and China does it just in a more bureaucratic way. They just sign you straight up to it rather than kind of covering it as lobbying does. Lobbying doesn't make it that clear, whereas in China
Well,
they're
in China,
pretty.
they try to act like they're magnanimous. They're like, listen,
Yeah,
like we'll help you if you give us like a controlling share of your company.
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
but like the fine print is like, oh, you actually have to anyways. Like we're not going to allow you
Yeah,
not to. Like I think if a company scales to a certain size, like it's like mandatory.
yeah,
And then
and
that's what happened with Huawei, the cell phone company,
Huawei,
Huawei.
Huawei. Yeah, and the other thing as well in China that they've been doing since I used to do business in China 10 years ago, not in China but with the Chinese.
Yeah.
Excuse me. One of the things that they do as well is they reserve the right to take any of your designs and intellectual property. So
Yeah.
sometimes, they're not even that nice about it. They'll just literally take it. But yeah, I mean, nothing. They will do whatever they want, whenever they want.
Yeah, they don't give a shit, dude. They steal
No.
everything. All of the technology they have, all of their apps, all that stuff is built. They just steal it. That was
Yeah.
one of the arguments Google made for having a censored version of Google for China,
Mm.
because Google is like, well, we don't want our algorithm to be stolen,
Mm.
so we're just going to provide it to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty frightening.
These are the kind of people that will lecture you about like using proper pronouns. Make sure you have that in your bio. So when people address you, they know how to call you. But we'll work with the Chinese government, and who is responsible for untold amounts of human suffering.
Yeah.
Some great priorities we have, like for our for our business leaders in this country, in your country,
Concentration
in the
camps,
world.
slave labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But what I was going to say was what worries me about this incident itself is that I feel like we are on the cusp. I mean, people have been saying this for the last 20 years, but I feel like we really are there. We're on the cusp of autonomous, we call them lorries, but trucks, whatever,
Yeah.
truck drivers.
Yeah, that's the
And
future.
I worry that this incident has already made a lot of Western governments just immediately think we can't run the risk of this happening or for Canada happening again. So we need to invest heavily in autonomous trucks.
I think, yeah, it's like something that would speed up that timeline. It would
Yeah.
exacerbate because it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Like
Yeah.
most service things are going to become automated. They already are to a large degree. I mean, especially in the United States, like if you go to like a grocery store, if you go to like a Walmart or a big box store, like the vast majority of it is self-checkout stuff. You don't really
Same.
talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's just gotten more and more and more over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't see that changing at all. And this gives them the pretext to just really go into actually probably maybe invest government money in it.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Even if it's hidden, because some countries they won't be able to do it as overtly.
Well, because they're going to use something like a pandemic as an
What if
excuse
we
to
have
be
a
like, well, we
pandemic?
can't disrupt supply chains.
Yeah.
Look what happened. Look what the supply chains got disrupted, even though
Yeah.
that's a problem they created themselves by not allowing people to do their jobs.
And so I think to myself, there are a lot of people that you would have thought would want to take part in what could potentially be the last real workers of the world unite kind of thing. Like this potentially could be the last really big, especially in Canada, the
Yeah.
last really big like workers movement. This is how the workers grind things to a halt when you start messing with their lives. But instead of that, the same people that want to tell you what pronouns they use and how awful you are for being, well, I won't go into that. But anyway, these same people should be down there, like linking arms with them, going, "Yeah, let's do it." But
Well,
this
30 years ago they would have, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. People
Yeah.
from 20, 30 years ago would have been there.
Yeah,
both
because
together.
they were the party of the working class, because that's the grift. They're just coming at
Exactly.
whatever is the most like vulnerable, emotionally charged groups of people that are often treated unfairly, right?
Mm.
And they use that as a way to be like, hey, we're going to help you. We're going to provide you an answer. We're going to provide you some solutions. And then they get all integrated with unions and workers' rights kind of organizations, and now they've just flipped on them all. Now they've just turned their backs on them. Thanks for the help. Thanks for spreading our bullshit all over the fucking world. And see ya.
Yeah.
We can't have this. Like you guys, like, listen, you should have just did what you were told. Like it's really weird. Honestly, it's kind of, when you start really thinking about it, it's even grosser. And
Absolutely.
that there is probably some sort of broad overview. It's not something everybody's like conscious of. Not everybody that's involved in these organizations or these groups or whatever is conscious that this is happening. It's like a lobster in water or a frog in water slowly being brought to boil. Like they don't realize what they're part of. They don't understand it on some sort of like in the broader context and the long view, the long play of things. So many people are so stuck in the moment that they don't think about the things they involve themselves with in a long-term sense. Like what does this mean for the long term? Like you can't just think about what happens tomorrow.
Like, it's funny that you say that, because something that I didn't mention earlier when we were talking about why I was out for a bit and why I hadn't made videos in a period of time. I ended up reading. So Dominic Cummings is this guy who's he's sort of like a populist center rightist, but very populist. Very for the working man. He's from the north of the UK, and he because he had great success with the Brexit thing, like he was one of the 5 people that was picked to basically put a plan together. Like, how are we going to do this? What are we going to get out of it for the country? And like, what's our best strategy? And so one of the strategies he had was not spending a lot of money at all on like adverts or advertising or marketing, either in sort of real life or online, until a week before the actual vote. And that was one of the things that swung it, because everybody else was saying, oh, they've not got a lot of money because they're not, we're not seeing any adverts. And it was like sort of 50-50. Maybe there was like a slight push more for Remain in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just unleashed this 150 million or what it was in the last week. And that completely swung it. Anyway, I was reading something of his on what's the new journalism site that everybody's Substack.
Oh yeah. Well, it's
I was-
it's like a blogging site. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading this really long article of his as somebody, because he also worked as like an aide, an advisor to the Prime Minister. And I was reading something of his that was talking about how politics actually works compared to how, these kind of blue tick mark people from both sides, and how even people like you and I, like from both sides, think it works.
Yeah.
And that article of his, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do.
That changed my way of thinking, I think, forever. Like, the stuff that he said was so, it's kind of obvious, but then at the same time, it was just shocking.
Well, sometimes
So
it's like you understand all of the pieces and you see them and
Yeah.
they all feel disparate and disconnected. And when somebody like lines them up and makes like a coherent statement out of all of them, like a coherent observation
yeah.
about how they line up, like it's sometimes you're like, oh my god, how did I not how did this not just click with me? Like, because you had a sense of it, but you
Yeah.
couldn't like find like the right way to articulate it.
Yeah, I mean, one of his main points really was just, a lot of people, including me, we like to think that certain politicians, they're just stupid. And I will make an exception. Justin Trudeau really is just
He
fucking
does seem
stupid.
kind of dumb. Yeah.
But, someone like Pelosi or Biden before he became a little bit senile,
Yeah, they're not
but
stupid. They're not stupid.
they're not fucking stupid at all.
No.
They know everything you know, but they also know that there is a plan. And the plan may not work out how they want it to work out, but what they want is power,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to be seen as popular.
Yeah,
And
there's an
mainly what they
ego.
care about.
Yeah, an ego vanity part of it, and because it's human nature. You have to look at them not like cartoon characters. They're not.
Yeah,
They're people, and they're motivated by the same things that you and I are motivated, just on a larger scale.
yeah,
And because I think, there is something to say, like it's fun, like, oh, look at old Grandpa President Applesauce brains or whatever. Like it's easy to say that, and that may be partially true at this point. But like it doesn't actually help you to understand what motivates them or how these decisions are made, because you're basically letting them off the hook. You're saying they're too stupid to know to do anything else. And you're like, no, they know exactly what they're doing.
yeah.
They know exactly what they're doing, probably on a deeper level than you have any awareness of, or you'll ever have awareness of. Do you think like somebody like AOC, right?
Yeah.
She seems kind of little Justin Trudeau-y a little bit at times, but she's not like a complete moron. And she knows she knows what she's doing in the sense of like kind of building a base for the future. Like she reaching
knows who
out.
her crowd is.
Exactly. But she knows who her crowd is. She knows the demographics. She knows where they go.
Yeah.
She knows how to get them and get new ones, get new people, because she's appealing to like this youth factor, doing Instagram live streams of her cooking and talking about politics, and that people eat that shit up, especially if you think you're like a smart, informed teenager.
Yep.
And you're smart and informed because you watch AOC live streams. I mean, that's the future, dude. They're going to be on Twitch. They're going to be doing all that. Everybody has a fucking podcast. Yeah. Ted Cruz tries to like do the same thing, but it's Ted Cruz.
I kind of like Ted Cruz nowadays. I used to think he was a knob.
I don't mind Ted Cruz is in terms of like a politician. as a
Oh, right.
as a politician and as a person, because he seems like he's self-effacing
Yeah.
and he's not obviously he's smart. He's kind of a constitutionalist,
Yeah.
and but he's also like kind of a feckless politician. He doesn't really
Yeah.
actually get very much done. There's a lot of great sound bites. There's a lot of great video clips I can watch of him tearing into somebody, but
Yeah.
what results of it? Like what comes of it? Nothing.
And
Nothing.
and and that was what one of the things that Dominic Cummings was saying. And I know, listen, I know that a lot of the stuff that I am saying is not the stuff that blew my mind. So hopefully people aren't thinking, well, this is really obvious. There's other stuff in there that you want to read that is really mind blowing. But he was saying most politicians just want to lean up against each other.
Yeah.
That's why they often never actually do anything. So you've got Lindsey Graham in America, who just spends his whole career, being like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Vice versa. You have people on the other side that do a
Because
similar thing. Because at
that
the end of the day,
yeah, yeah.
like, sorry, I was just going to say, at the end of the day, I know a lot of Americans, and I feel it here as well in the UK. So a lot of Brits feel this way, that we feel like things are changing so much. Like, oh, I don't know, I can't take it anymore. But and this goes especially for Americans, because I actually think things have changed quite a bit here. I don't think things have really changed that much for most Americans. Like, if you take I don't know, a lower middle class 40-year-old American in the early 1990s, and you compare that to how they live their life to now, other than I would say that the intrinsic value of the dollar has gone down, I don't think life is that much more restrictive. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's subtle ways, right? There's subtle things. There's just like certain, like, there's probably more restrictions and there's more laws that are maybe run in the background of things you don't even really recognize that you're just not going to come up against very often. So you don't even know that they're there
Hmm.
for most people. Um, but like, yeah, I think quality of life is probably very similar. I mean, I guess it's it'd be a very long conversation to really get into it,
Hmm.
like the minutia of like the economy and the wages stagnating and the devaluation of the dollar. We may actually be in a time right now where it is actually starting to change for the
Yeah,
worse
I
right
know.
now. Like up until now, though, they've been able to kind of maintain, even if it was a facade for a while, like property. Well, actually, the big thing was the housing bubble, like the
Yeah,
2008. That was something that changed a lot, I think.
it
And
definitely changed things. But what I'm talking about is just laws and restrictions and things like that.
well, I
Like,
mean, it's like 2001, dude. Like the Patriot Act, that's a big one for the United States. It's like a big sea change for the United States for your personal privacy. Like that's
mhm,
huge. That was a huge infringement, if you want to call it that, on the notion of what Americans thought of as like their right to privacy.
mm.
And there was a big conversation. There's a big debates and arguments about the nature of it. What does it mean? And like, well, hey, if you got nothing to hide, why do you care if the
I was
government
just
looks
gonna
at your
say that.
emails? I remember I was like 17 and somebody said that to me. I'm like, well, isn't that that's not the point.
Yeah. No, I remember that was the big kind of
Or the
pushback.
stuff with Edward Snowden. Like this is what I mean. Like there's so much stuff that's going on in the periphery, in the background of people's lives that they don't even know is happening.
Mm.
And you have to wonder why at some point you're like, well, what are they doing with all this stuff?
The biggest thing that I see happening is a lot of the world is just getting ready to begin serving their new master, because I think people are a fool if they don't think that people do serve America, at least the Western allies.
Yeah.
We all and this is like not me insulting the allies or America. I'm just pointing out the fact that if you play a key role in the petrodollar, let's say, so you agree that you will pay for energy in the US dollar,
Yeah.
you allow America to go into insane amounts of debt, and you're playing the game as being one of their allies, and you'll receive some benefits from that at some cost. But we're now at the point where China is, really starting to hard charge. and we're seeing America has just passed the point where all economists worth their salt for the last 25 years had said 28 to 29 trillion will be the level where America will never recover unless the growth is 10% plus a year.
Yeah.
28 to 29 trillion is around about the level where the bubble is going to burst.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think those two things happening in a similar time, so that kind of petrodollar Western allies bubble bursts at the same time that China have come along and said, we'll lend you money.
Well, that's the thing. Like, exactly. Because I think you're completely right, 1,000% right. I think the American empire is probably in its decline since waning years. Maybe it might take 50 years to like really get to a place where it's truly displaced.
Mm.
But that's definitely in the midst of happening. And our American politicians, the progressive wing, seem like they are rushing it forward because I
Yeah,
think secretly they want it to happen.
I think they do, but I
Yeah.
don't think they will when it does.
No, they won't like it because this is what I was talking about earlier. Nobody thinks about the long game.
No.
They just think about the immediate. Why do you mean you can't give us like a $4 trillion relief
Yeah.
package? Like, what are you guys doing? What are you talking? Do you see how much
Yeah.
money we fucking printed in the past couple of years? Or
Why
look at our
can't I not
deficit.
work ever?
What's that?
I'm just saying, I've heard a lot of people saying things recently like, why can't we just not go to work?
Oh, the anti-work movement, which is just starting to pick up steam, which is just a laundering of socialism, communism. It's the
just
same
ridiculous.
shit. It's the same shit, just with a different name.
So you think there should be children that have to work 20-hour days in a phone factory?
Yeah, that's
But-
okay.
But you shouldn't have to work because that's capitalism.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to Justin because I feel like I'm darkening the mood. I'm sorry.
We have relied on you, and you can rely on us to continue to stand with you and allow you to do your jobs safely. I have attended protests and rallies in the past when I agreed with the goals, when I supported the people expressing their concerns and their
Wild, Justin. They're like, well, when I agreed with them, I was cool with it. But now that I don't, I'm not cool with it.
Yeah, it was good when it was BLM and stuff, but
yeah,
those days are
issues. Black Lives Matter is
Oh.
an excellent example of that. But I have
There you
also chosen to not go anywhere near protests that have expressed hateful rhetoric, violence towards fellow citizens, and a disrespect, not just of science, but of the frontline health workers and, quite frankly, the 90% of truckers who have been doing the right thing to keep Canadians safe, to put food on our tables. There is always a right to protest peacefully that I and others will defend fully as part of this democracy. There is not a right to incite violence, to perform acts of violence, or to spew hatred.
I feel like if those things were readily available, they would show it to you.
Yes.
They would show you that footage. They would not be hiding it. It's like J6 there, right? Like there's a few pockets of intense violence, and that's all you see.
Mm.
So I think if they had that available to them, they would definitely be inundating every place with that footage. And I haven't seen any of it. I have not seen any crazy violence. I haven't seen anything other than maybe some people push each other, yelling at each other, which is whatever. Like you're out. It's a protest. Like it happens.
For someone to convince me that this is, extremely bad, I want to see shops being burnt down. I want to see supermarkets being looted.
Yeah, but wouldn't that just be mostly peaceful though?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. 93% peaceful trucking.
He went out there with a straight face and says like, "Well, I marched alongside like BLM, something." Okay.
Why did he bring that up?
What happened? What happened when the BLM marches were happening? What happened?
Yeah.
Were there bad actors involved, Justin?
It was mostly peaceful. Yeah, I think that was. I wanted to show you that. I don't know if you'd seen it already or similar things, but I just thought like this guy has zero scruples. I'm not sure what a scruple is, but
I think it's grit, integrity, whatever it is. But like, yeah, no, I totally agree because it's shocking, like how on its face you're like, it's so full. They don't even hide the ball anymore. They don't even
no.
do that. They just say it, and it's
Yeah.
so frustrating because you know what's crazy? At the end of the day, there's nothing you can do about it, and
I
they
know.
know that, and they have the
I know.
confidence of knowing that, and that they know that they can. They'll wait this out. They'll wait this out. People will have to go home. People will have like nobody's going to be able to do this for like a year.
No.
So it's gonna go on for another week or two at the most, and they'll wait it out, and then they'll just go back and be like, "Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
That was nice. Good."
And then they'll start investing money in autonomous trucking.
Oh, there he's already looking. He's trying to get Elon on the phone. He's trying to get
Yeah.
anybody on the phone. Bill
Well,
Gates, Mr. Gates, I need to talk to you.
dude, there's a 25-year-old Canadian guy who's already started a huge company. And I actually think he's gone down into America, obviously, because there's more money there and you've got much, much bigger audience. Because
Yeah.
Canada's only like 23 million people or something.
Yeah.
So, so he'll probably just bring him back up and be like, you want to come and work for us, eh?
Yeah.
And they will be the first big country, maybe.
Well, they could. They might be able to be just because, like you said, population size would be like a good test case.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're spread the fuck out in Canada. Like Canada's very sprawling. That 23 million people is spread out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of trucking going on. There's a lot of trucking going on up there.
There is a lot of trucking up north. I feel like Canada, though, would be one of those countries where certain parts of that country you would really rather have a human because where they have to like drive across, like ice road truckers. Where they have to drive across frozen lakes and I don't know. I feel like
they're probably still going to have to do that for a while. Those guys are going to have security for another probably decade until we figure it out. Which I think they probably could, dude. It's probably much easier or much further along than we're even aware of.
I think it probably is.
I mean, there are self-driving cars already.
I know.
I mean, because in the reason, the way you can know that is like there's like 3 stories of people being hit and killed by them.
Yeah.
But they do exist. They're out there. You can buy them, dude. I would kill for that. I would kill for it. I'd kill thousands of homeless. I'm joking. I'd be mowing them down. No, but I would. I hate driving. I hate it.
I fucking love driving.
I know you're a car guy, but me, I'm like, just let me get in the pod and then let me put in the address and I'll take a nap.
But what do you want pods for? Tell me the things in a day that you would happily put over to a robot. Driving?
Yeah. Yes, driving.
So the school run?
School runs, anything.
What about watching things on the computer or on the TV?
Well, I can't do that for me. I could do that while I'm in the pod being driven.
Yeah.
I could imagine the work I could get done. Imagine the work. That's the way I look at it. Trying to be a productive member of society. Imagine what I could get done. Imagine the Twitter scrolling I could do.
Let me ask you, if you could press a button though and just get 100K a year, but you're not allowed to work, would you do that?
$100,000 a year, and I have to just press one button?
Yeah.
One time.
And you're not allowed to work.
I'm not allowed to work. But what constitutes work, though, Mark? I feel like this is one of those devil's deals where they're like, "Oh, and I'll come in here to the office. Well, I got all this free time. I think."
No. You can't do any streaming, any videos.
Oh, then no, I wouldn't do that.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Wow.
I'd get my wife to do it. She wouldn't care. She'd be like, "Good."
Yeah. But I wonder how far away we are from just becoming like that, especially in the West, how far away we are from just becoming just like a squishy pile of goo that just has vague interactions with something online.
Yeah, that's what's happening. That's what people laugh about stuff like the metaverse. I'm like, that's just the beginning of your future, dude. Like, Disney got it right. Wall-E, when you find out what the people are like, and they're like these big fat globs, and they're on these little floating scooters, and they order everything online, and they're just stuck in front of a screen all day. Like, that's happening. That's going to happen. I guarantee it's going to. I don't see how can it not. If we were to say like continue to trend in the direction we are in terms of like, because everything is about convenience.
Yeah.
And people accept a lot when it makes your life easier. They will. They'll accept a lot. And like, so if actually, like the question you asked me, if you could press a button and make $100,000, I think a lot more people would do it than I would be comfortable admitting.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think you have to be really into something to still want to do it. So I know a lot of people that would agree with you that if they had a choice of just getting in a car and saying, "Take me to Safeways, Jeeves," and the car just drives you there, and then you get out and you go and do your shopping. But excuse me. But because I obviously really like cars and I quite like driving, I find it fun and invigorating. Then obviously I would want to do that. But there's an awful lot of things that I wouldn't want to do as well. So yeah, I think you kind of have to really want to do something to do it nowadays in the West. Whereas I think in the East and like in rising economies, a lot of those people, there's growth to be had there. There's big position change in life to be made in somewhere like, well, many parts of Africa, many parts of Asia. But it just seems like in the West, we sort of peaked. We're living on almost like borrowed wealth, like wealth from our ancestors, like especially in the UK. Like we have no natural resources. We no longer are like, we used to be kind of the pinnacle of manufacturing for, it used to be like Sheffield Steel and all those sorts of things. Cars, like, I don't know, like half of all the sort of prestigious car companies were British.
Yeah.
And now you just kind of got people that are waiting for their grandparents to die because they know they'll get $500,000. And that $500,000 essentially was gifted to them by an economy which was given faith to borrow money through the power it grew with its empire.
Yeah. And at some point, that's going to run out.
It's running out now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, and there's no avoiding that. Like, you can't just keep writing checks. Somebody's going to cash them at some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought we would end it on a high note. So there you go, everyone.
Yeah, there you go, everybody.
Enjoy that.
Enjoy the silence. You guys like Depeche Mode? You can like pop that in, just listening to it over and over and over again.
That would be great. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Go and check Shaun out on everything Zoobox, not the German Zoobox.
No, not those people. No. You gotta look up a Zoobox channel. You'll see my face. You'll see animals, multicolored animals with pastel colors, and it's really nice. My wife made it.
Link in the description. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you again soon.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish